Hello and Happy New Year everyone. We do a little trolling, or rather, we don't a little trolling. I wanted to make this video to raise awareness and concern for an ongoing case that I have recently heard about in another video by Annie Elise's 10 to Life, and that is the case of Karlie Guse, who disappeared in October of 2018 and has been missing for the past 5 years now. At the time of her disappearance, she was only 16 years old. One of the most chilling parts of this case is the events that lead up to the disappearance. As the story goes, Karlie was at a house party one evening in mid-October 2018, and she and a few friends were smoking some pot and listening to music. At some point in the evening, Karlie began to freak out, saying that the music was scaring her and that she felt something was out to get her. The party ended early, and when everyone was going home, Karlie's boyfriend, who was also at the party, looked at her and saw that her face was pale and she looked completely terrified. She began to scream loudly, and her boyfriend tried to comfort her, but she kept screaming and ran away from him down the street. She called her stepmom in a panic and demanded to be picked up, and when her stepmom eventually found her, she saw Karlie running down the street towards the car with her phone light bobbing up and down as she ran. She screamed all the way home and kept looking out all the windows from the back seat, asking if they were being followed. When they got home, Karlie huddled in a corner and continued to freak out, and she avoided all the windows. She kept telling her stepmother that something was coming to get her and that her life was in grave danger. Her stepmother tried to make her some food, but she refused, saying that the food had a demonic presence. She also said the same about going in the shower. Melissa believed that the pot they smoked at the party might have even been laced with something to intentionally get her to act this way, but after some testing later on, there was nothing out of the ordinary with the pot that was smoked by anyone at the party. When she tried to go to bed, she was afraid to sleep in the room alone, much less sleep at all for that matter, because she said that she was going to die in her sleep that night. When she finally got into bed, Melissa, her stepmother, continuously checked on her throughout the hours of the night, and she says that every time she went into the room, Karlie would just stare at her with her eyes peeled wide open and not say anything. When Melissa went to check on Karlie after 7 a.m., she found the bed empty. All of Karlie's clothes and belongings were still in their place in the room untouched, but Karlie was nowhere to be seen. Melissa looked around the house but could not find her anywhere. She tried to text Karlie's boyfriend asking if she had gone back to him, but he denied it. As the search moved beyond the lot, someone said they thought they saw her around the time she disappeared walking barefoot in her PJs with a piece of paper in her hand. They say she was walking towards the interstate and that she kept anxiously looking at the paper in her hand. She kept looking at the sky, and she kept looking around and back over her shoulder. The police got involved and began to search the town, but she was nowhere to be spotted. The search went as far as the 10-mile radius around the town of Bishop, which is surrounded by California desert. Since her disappearance, there have been a few tips and pieces of evidence that have come up since then. 1 year after her disappearance, people thought she was spotted in one part of a dirt biking video from around the area, but the belief is that it was likely not her. In another instance, a mukbang channel featured a young woman at some point after she went missing, and the woman very closely resembled Karlie. People began to wonder if her identity had been concealed by another party and she was being forced against her will to be here on camera, but it was also very unlikely. At some point in more recent years, someone claimed that they could use an oscillating device to track any remains of her DNA by frequency, and they found a trail of blood somewhere just beyond the town with a pair of women's underwear, and then they found coyote droppings that they suspected might have her DNA in them, which leads to the idea that she was likely attacked and did not survive. Other people still think that they've spotted her around. At one point, 2 guys say they saw a young woman in torn clothing with similar hair and facial structure to Karlie running towards them from the distance, but they figured she might be an escaped felon as there was a prison yard around, so they got away from her as to not associate with that. One of the most recent tips that I heard suggests that she was spotted in Las Vegas, which is roughly 200 miles from Bishop. And the idea is that she could still be there right now, should she really still be alive, but the evidence is all over the place. If you ask me, it's a tough one. This girl has been missing for over 5 years now, and if she really were alive, you would think she would have eventually turned up by now. I mean, just think, she went missing when she was 16, and she was born 2 years after I was, so that would make this the year she would turn 22. But is it really possible for her to have either survived all this time or have been just simply hidden? Even if she avoided being attacked by wild animals in the desert, it is completely impossible to survive 5 years without food or water, so the only way she could possibly be still alive now is for her to be with someone who is still providing her with nourishment. Otherwise, she could have just died from thirst or starvation. My thought is that if she is still alive, Someone is either keeping her hidden from the public or she is out and about with a concealed identity, but at this point, anything is possible. You would also think though that if she did die, her body would at least be found, or maybe, my thought is that by now her body could have done what any body does after death and decomposed to bones, or she could have been torn up by something and her remains were spread so there was nothing really left of her. Either way, I really don't want to think about it. Some have also tried to speculate on what the paper in her hand she was seen with was all about. Some think that it was a self-delete letter and that she went out into the wilderness on purpose so that she could die of natural causes and nobody would be there with her. Others think it had an address on it that she was trying to get to on her own, and she was heading toward the interstate to hitch a ride to get there, or she was abducted by someone from the road. Any of these scenarios is possible. And that's about all that I have and know on this case for now. In short, she could be dead, she could be with someone who is keeping her hidden from the public in another town or state, she could be with someone who has her out and about with a concealed identity, or she could be out there still wandering around on her own and finding a way to survive. This case is honestly like a cliffhanger of a TV show. I really want to know what happens next, I really do. It boggles my mind that at this very moment as I am making this video, she is out there either alive or dead, but we don't know for now. And we might never know, just like with Amelia Earhart, it's entirely possible she will never be found. Some missing things never get found and remain a mystery to this day. It's so confounding just to think about if she really is still alive in this world at this very moment or not. Anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you. I just wanted to raise awareness about this case because I found it very interesting and felt that more people needed to know about it. I will leave it here, and until next time, we don't a little trolling, peace out.